What if consistently publishing content was bad for your blog? Hi, I'm Jaryd Krause. I am the host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast, and today I'm speaking with Meera Kothand, who is an author of several best-selling books, including The 1 Hour Content Plan, Selling the Intangible, The Blog Startup, and since 2015, she has helped over 100,000 small business owners and creatives lead through the noise by radically changing how they approach content, all without being on social media 24/7. Now, through her programs and courses and one-to-one strategic coaching and other things that she offers, she's helped clients and customers market their business with a content ecosystem that oozes authority, melts resistance, and inspires dream clicks from clients. Now, her work has been featured on Business Insider, Marketing Proofs, Business News Weekly, and several other sites. And in this podcast episode, Meera and I talk about where most people go wrong with their content creation and why there is something far more important than consistency, especially for blogging. We also talk about how to create a content plan that covers each part of your user's journey, how to bridge the gap from content consumption to your readers loving and wanting to work with you. We also talk about when to use an email list and what types of call to actions to use for different types of content. And I share why I believe people don't focus on email marketing or building an email list for their blog, which is just something that is plucked out of the air for me. It was just an insight that I got throughout that podcast in itself. We also talk about how to repurpose or create content specifically for social media that generates leads and sales, but only when warranted on each platform, and how to create content for each specific platform, but knowing which platform to choose to share content on for your actual audience, which is what I share on the pod as well. There's so much value in this podcast episode. I know you guys are going to love it. If you guys are looking to buy a content site and grow it, this one is for you. Enjoy. What's up? This is Jaryd, and I am stoked to have you here. Before we dive into the show, I want to remind you that for a limited time, you can get one-to-one voice note mentoring with me to help you buy and grow your online business. I'm opening up just a few slots of voice note coaching to give you one-to-one access to me via Coachbox. You'll tell me your goals and challenges, and we'll work through them together. I'll ask questions, I'll tell you what I think, and we'll get you ticking boxes and achieving your online income goals. You can message me anytime, and I'll respond within 48 hours. Right now, you can get 20% off by using the coupon code Jaryd, that's Jaryd, and I'll drop the link in the show notes so you can find out more. Until then, let's get on with the episode. Meera, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Jaryd.
Did I get the pronunciation correctly?
Spot on. Yes, you did.
Cool. All right, I just got off your website actually and had a look, and damn, you have some good copywriting skills. I just have to appreciate that from you. Well done. It's good, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years to learn the skill though, because it doesn't come naturally to you. But yeah, it's definitely a skill that can be learned.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has helped me in business and out of business in so many ways. It's helped me become a better storyteller, better to listen to as just a human being. And I think, yeah, it's a valuable skill to have. It's a sales skill, right? And all we do in life is sales, marketing and sales. We're always marketing ourselves or selling ourselves typically, whether it's for money or not. But yeah, so we might dive back into copywriting later because I'm sure it's going to be a part of this whole process of creating pretty epic content, which is what you do and you help people do. So where do most people trip up when trying to create winning content, like a winning content plan that in your quotes oozes authority?
Wow, yeah. I think the biggest trip up is people always associate consistency with content. And they think that as long as they're consistent, then their content is good or they have it in the bag, which cannot be further from the truth, because you can be very consistent. You have an email go out every week you have something on social, you write blog posts week after week, but it's very likely that sometimes when you do all of that, it doesn't really contribute to your sales. It doesn't contribute to attracting an audience that's the right fit for you. So for me, I think this is the biggest thing that I see people get wrong, in that they think that they're safe as long as they're consistent. Um, so I think for me, it's a little bit of a cringe, and it has kind of inspired me to do a lot of the work that I've done, because it's really good meaning, well-intentioned entrepreneurs and creatives who just are on that bandwagon of, okay, create, but they don't really think about, okay, am I attracting the right person? Is this the right fit? Should I even do this? Yeah.
Wow. So I agree. Like, I can see where people are on the hamster wheel of output and putting content out there, and they're consistently putting content out there, but consistently putting out bad content at times.
Yeah.
So consistency isn't always good. Consistency can be one or the other. You can consistently have good content, or you can consistently have bad content, or consistently mediocre content. So that's a really, really good distinction between just content and consistency and the quality. So if people are putting out content, they're on the hamster wheel, and they're not attracting the money that they want, and they're not serving the people in the way they want to serve people, how do you attract the right people through your content?
So a couple of things. For me, I always like to think about who exactly it is that I'm speaking to. And I know we all have heard about doing the ideal, the customer avatar exercise. It's, I know most people are like, what? Not that again. But, specifically, more than just, okay, who is your ideal client? It's about thinking about where you want to start the conversation. Because you can, three different businesses might be speaking to the same person, but at different stages in their journey. So that person might be someone maybe 2 years back who is completely unaware of whatever it is that you're talking about. 2 years in, they might be just kind of exploring their pain points. Or perhaps 1 year in, they might be someone who's a little bit more aware. They have perhaps bought into different solutions before, but they're looking for the right kind of support. So it's the same person, but it's just at different stages in their journey. So it's kind of like, the customer journey. So I like to think about, and what I always stress is, think about where exactly you're starting the conversation. Are you starting the conversation at the point that, okay, this is someone who knows and identifies with the pain point you're talking about? Is this someone who has searched for other solutions before, they've bought before? Depending on who exactly this person is, the type of content you write is going to be a little bit different. Because speaking to someone who's just exploring pain points versus someone who has explored a solution and is tired of the solutions out there, or tired of the solutions that they've bought into, it's going to be slightly different. So always try to figure out, okay, where exactly am I starting the conversation? I think that's like the first thing that you can do. It takes the ideal customer avatar exercise a step further. It gives it a little bit of nuance, I would say. So I think that's the first thing. And then beyond that, you want to think, okay, so this is where I want to start the conversation. Then what does this person need from me in order to say yes to me down the road? Because your person comes in with lots of things that they need to unlearn from. They've got things that they believe that are not necessarily true. There are beliefs that you need to reframe and help them shift. So you need to kind of plot out, okay, this person who's coming into my world, what do I need to help them unlearn? Or what do I need to help them shift? So this is what I like to call perspective shifting content. So you're not just putting content that's out there, that's all how-tos and tips and, steps to doing something. You want to help shift perspectives. I think that's the kind of content that truly stands out, especially today when there's so much noise.
And changing people's perspectives, is that content where you're breaking down and proving some philosophies or theories wrong, and sharing a different viewpoint?
Yeah, that could be part of it. In my work with a lot of clients, what I've seen is many people hold on to misconceptions about the way it should be done or the right way it should be done. And you, who is someone, you could be a consultant, you could be a coach, you could be a service provider, you would know that, hey, this isn't necessarily true. What they're thinking isn't necessarily true. So you are telling them to kind of unlearn and think about it in a different perspective. You're helping them reframe and view it from a different angle. So these could be mistakes or myths or misconceptions. It could also be objections that they have, not to your offer, but to your process, like your way of doing it. You could have objections to that. Like some people could say, I don't think this would work for me because I'm an introvert, or I don't think this would work for me because I'm very new to this, or I've done this before, it hasn't worked. How is this different? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to reframe all of this, and you're trying to change perspective. So this is what I mean by perspective shifting content. But very often what people do is the moment they get them in, they immediately just start talking about their solution. Oh, this is my offer. This is what I do. Sign me up for a call. And they keep hitting the solution, but they don't think about this person that needs to reframe and shift and all of that.
So you mean they need a bit more time to digest the perspective shift before they go, oh yeah, this is the right person for me, or the right service or product that I need at this time, rather than just what you're saying, that they just go, here's my product and you need it because I need to change your perspective, rather than like, let me just leave a different perspective here for you, mull it over, and then come back to me when you think it's right, or if it is right, then we can help you.
Yeah, exactly. I think many people think that, okay, the moment someone comes in, they're ready, and it very often is not that's not the case. If you think about many of the products that we buy, sometimes we think about it, we find more information, we ask a friend, we ask a colleague, we gather information, and we process, and we think about, okay, is this the right offer for me? Unless, of course, it's like an impulse buy. You're at the lane in the supermarket, you've got your chocolates or candy, and then that's kind of like an an impulse buy. You don't need a lot of processing. But for any other thing that you're buying, whether it's like a big, huge television, or even if it's like a course that you're buying. Yeah, exactly. And, you need to think about things. You need to see numbers. You need to think about, okay, is this the right fit for me? You need to be sometimes convinced as well. And this requires some time. And that is where your content can handhold them through the journey, whatever it is that you're selling.
Oh, you're speaking to people that are having their hand held right now as they listen to this podcast, on them digesting and processing whether the buying a business is right for them, and how much they should spend, when, where, how. Should I even use Jaryd's help, or can I do it on my own? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you don't use my help, get somebody's help. So that comes to how I like to create content, in not in the form of text, but video and audio. Is I like to create content that help people digest and process if this is the right strategy for them in their wealth creation journey or replacing their income. And then also through that content, I don't know if people realize this, is I allow this content to be criteria and disclude people and then include the right people. So what I say and what I suggest and stuff like that, I'm pushing people away that aren't right for this method to somewhere else, and I'm harnessing and culturing and bringing people in that are right for this process through the content we create. Is that what you're talking about when it comes to building a brand and authority in your space?
Yeah, what you're saying is you are intentionally repelling some people away.
Correct.
By talking about your process and method, because not everyone is going to be the right fit. And sometimes when we shy away from addressing things head on, when we kind of take like we're not being authoritative, we're not being strong in our message, then we can kind of be attracting and speaking to everyone, which is not what we want, because we really want our content to repel some people away, make it very clear that, hey, this is not for you if you are, X, Y, and Z. But if you kind of fit this criteria, then yes, this process would be the best for you. You would be the best fit to work with me, or something like that. Is exactly what you want your content to say.
Yeah.
And it's difficult if you're very wishy-washy, if you're not very strong in your message. Yeah.
It's a way of pre-vetting people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So now once we know, all right, we know our avatar, we know the different stages of their journey they're going on or they're going to be on. Do you focus on creating content for each part of the journey, and if so, where do you start with that journey in terms of content creation?
Yeah. So I guess it really depends. So if, Jaryd, just to take your example, if someone is looking to buy a business, for some people, they might need to be even convinced that this is something that they should do. For others, they might already be considering that, but they don't really know the right steps. For some of them, they might have done it before, they might not have had a good experience, and they're looking for someone else to handhold them through the process. So it depends on, okay, where exactly you want to come in. Do you want to help people who even need to be convinced that this is the right step? Or do you want to come in at a point where they're already curious and then they're like, okay, yes, I do want to purchase the business. I know this is right, but I don't know the right steps to do. So that could be someone else. So it's, for me, from what I've experienced, is it's a lot easier to start talking to people who are at least curious about what it is that you do. They know, they're aware that this is something that they want to explore. They know that the pain points are there, and they're looking for right solutions. And it's good to start the conversation there. And from there, you kind of plot out, okay, this is someone, I've spoken to someone like this before, I've worked with someone like this before. What are their stages? Typically, okay, they come in, they have a rough idea of what they want to do. The next stage is perhaps they don't really know the type of perhaps blogs or online sites that would be a right fit for them. And then the next stage would be, okay, what are the things that I need to be evaluating when I am looking to buy the site, for instance? So you want to create content along all of these different streams. You don't just want to keep talking about pain points, because there are going to be people who find you who are a little bit more advanced, who do know that, hey, I want to do this, but I don't really know how to evaluate a site, perhaps. So you want to offer them content from that angle. So when you do it in this way, yes, you will attract people who are more advanced. You will also attract people who are at the beginning stages, but still your ideal client, if you give them a little bit of time, a little bit of hand holding. So yeah, you do want to create content for different stages of the customer journey, but be very specific of where you want to start the customer journey. So whether with someone who is aware or completely unaware, be very clear about where you want to start. And from there, kind of plot out the stages.
Great. And once somebody is in consuming content, what's the next logical step to take them on their journey? Is like, all right, they've read a couple of blogs and they're like, this is interesting. What's the next step? Do you sell them a big fat $5,000 product, or do you have something else in front of it? Or what's typically the best process to go to getting people to work with you? Because I mean, at the end of the day, people are creating content, it's costing them time, it's costing them money, they need to get an ROI. Where do you go from here?
Yeah. So there are a few different options. For me, I used to swear by getting people on your email list, because for me, I felt like, okay, the moment I get them on my email list, I know that I can convert them through my emails. I know that I'll be able to get their buy-in. But I think, you can do it in a slightly different way. And it really depends on the type of content that you are sharing. So if the content that you have, the example that I shared just now, if your piece of content is talking about how they can evaluate a site before they buy it. So if someone is on reading or viewing a video like that, it kind of says that, hey, this is someone who's a little bit more advanced. They're looking at how to evaluate a site before they purchase it. And for that, they might be ready to actually get someone to walk them through the process or to kind of help them with it. So for a piece of content like that, a call to action like, sign up for a free discovery call with Jaryd, or apply to work with Jaryd, something like that might be better compared to if it's, should you be buying a business? Something like that would be for someone who is really just exploring that. So for someone who is reading that kind of content, it would be good to just have a simple lead magnet, get them on into your email list, and then start sending them emails. So I think the call to action, you can be a little bit smart about it, be intentional, and kind of vary those. So I used to get everyone onto my email list, like I said, but now I'm just trying to kind of stagger. And the key thing is trust your person, trust them to know to do what it is that you want them to do, because there's no way that you can say that, okay, this person is going to come to this piece of content and then go here and go here. There's no way that you can really time it like that, or you can predict that this is the journey that they're going to take. But as long as you've done your due diligence and you know that, okay, this is for this person, this call to action makes the most sense, and you kind of do all of those steps, just trust in the process that they will know how to come and find you. And yeah,
I love it. So tell me about email marketing. Why do most bloggers put email marketing on the back burner or just completely forget about it?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I've been talking about email for the past like 7 years, but it's still something that always ends up on the back burner. For me, I think it's because people always see email as something that is different or separate from their other pieces of content. Whether they're doing social media or they have a podcast or a YouTube channel, they're just not able to integrate email into their other pieces of content. They don't really know how. So email is always like, it just always sticks out like a sore thumb. So I think that's the reason why people it always just ends up as one of those things that never gets done. But the more you know how to integrate email into your plans, into your business, into even whatever it is that you're doing, your marketing plans, the easier it's going to be. And the better the results are going to be as well. Because most people kind of have like a, fly by the seat of your pants kind of approach to, email. It's like, oh my God, I have to sell something next week. And then they send an email this week. That's not the kind of approach that you want. You want to be top of mind with your email list. You want to be nurturing an audience. And you can actually set up a lot of systems in place to have all of this done on auto for you. So it might take you a little bit of time initially, but once you have the initial setup done, it's just going to keep working for you, day in, day out. So I think that lack of intention and just being really clueless about how email fits into the other pieces of your business is the main reason why people just are not able to get onto it.
I also think, yeah, you're right. It's a big barrier of like, oh, how do I set up my email and how do I get it all working? And I think people don't realize that the value that an email list actually has. For me, I see that having an email, having people on my email list is the bridge. Like I've got the content here and people are consuming the content. But to start working with me, it's like get on the email list, learn a little bit more, and then build more trust. You'll get more content sent to you. That helps build that bridge to getting to people like, all right, well, now you're going to get insane value because you're going to work with us. And without that bridge, I feel like you're bringing people in and spending all this money on content creation and you're keeping people there, but you're kind of like, well, hang on, like, don't get too close to me because I just want to keep you as cold traffic. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, I think email is just not very sexy compared to like something like social media. It's yeah, it's so yeah. I completely agree. And they're like, okay, send me all this traffic, but then they don't know, okay, what do I do with the traffic? They don't think about the after. It's not about going viral. Going viral, yes, it works for some businesses if you're running ads, but for most of us, okay, what do you do with that traffic? You want to be able to do something with that traffic.
Yeah. I think email is not, this could be it actually. email is hidden from the public, and social media and your content is not. And we don't get much vanity from our email lists. And that could definitely be the thing. Like the outward success, people can't tell. People, like, I tell people how good my email list, and people tell me how good my emails are. But the public doesn't know that. I don't get likes and recognition for how awesome my emails are. Well, other than not in the public eye, but I'd get it privately when people email me, but it's not out in the public eye. And I feel that could be a thing where people are like, oh, like, I need to make sure my business looks good, or, that could be a thing. Whereas actually,
I love that.
yeah,
The gratification, right? I actually never thought of that.
well, that just came to
That's
me just
spot
now.
on.
I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, hang on a second, it's hidden. It's not in the
Yeah.
public eye, is it?
Yeah. It's that vanity and the instant gratification that social media gives that email doesn't.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I love that.
I love, hidden success, and knowing the deep knowing of being successful without having to boast it and show it. I know,
Yeah.
maybe it's just me, because it makes me a far more confident person, knowing that I have my own level of success in what I think is success to me. May not be for other people, but just the deep knowing of like, yeah, that's a huge win, and it's not doesn't need to be in the public eye. Like if you look at my Instagram, like for this business, we got like hardly, and we got a small YouTube channel. Well, it's growing, but like from the back end, people don't understand like how valuable a business is until they are in the business, or they see what's going on in the business. Uh, but a lot of people are, I feel, focusing on like, I just need to get all the content out there, and I need to be seen on all the platforms. Whereas like if you just had like 15 to 50 really good pieces of content on your site, and it took people from each stage of the journey, and you got them into the back end, you could have $1 million business without people even seeing that. You're like, oh, how could a 50 blog website have $1 million business? I'll tell you what, there's businesses out that have less blogs on their site that make far more than $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad that we are all judged on the number of followers that we have on social media. But what you said is really true. There are people who are rarely on social media. They don't really do anything on their profiles and anything like that. But they have, six-figure businesses, $1 million businesses. And it's being very lean, very simple. But what they've done consistently is that trust that they've built, not by just pushing content, but is by being intentional with building a connection with the audience.
So sticking with email list, what type of email marketing should a blogger be doing?
I think very basics is the moment someone comes in, you want to have a nurture sequence. I think a lot of people, they don't really have that set up. And it can be interesting that, there's been so much awareness about building a welcome email series and nurture sequence, but a lot of people still don't have that set up. So one of the basic things you want to do is to have a nurture sequence. For me, apart from that, that does not have to be like a 90-day sequence or a 160-day sequence. It could just something that goes over 7 to 10 days. And the reason is because this person is new. They're still getting used to your brand, your perspectives, whatever it is that you have, what you are about. So you want to give them like a taste of what your brand and business is about. And that's the whole purpose of your nurture sequence. It's also a great way to build authority. So the moment someone comes in, you want to have a welcome email go up and then emails after that. So you don't want someone signing up and then the next time they hear from you is maybe 3 weeks later because you just came back on vacation. You want to have your nurture sequence set up on auto to just go out to everyone that comes in. Beyond that, for me, the way that I've built everything is whatever they're signing up for, if it's a lead magnet they're signing up for, I make sure that the emails that they receive in the sequence after that is tied to that pain point. And if let's say you're talking about two different things, with two different pain points. You want to be able to build pathways to serve different pain points. And this is something that will not happen immediately. It takes time. Like I've done this over years. But for someone who's just starting out, very simple, a nurture sequence, and then have an email editorial planner. Think about, okay, am I going to send an email once a week or once every 2 weeks? Kind of fix on a frequency and then plan your emails based on that. For me, I like to plan around like a theme or a campaign so that I don't have to keep switching topics week to week to week. So maybe the entire May, I'm going to just talk about email, or entire June, I'm just going to do content or blogging or something like that. And then this way, it's very easy for me to plan out, okay, what am I going to do on week 1, week 2, week 3, rather than keep switching between topics. Yeah.
I really love that as a strategic plan, and having each month you have a different theme that you can be like, all right, I've built out my content for that month. How much emphasis do you put on people creating and banking up content and then releasing it over a period of time so they don't feel so stuck in the business? Like, is that something you share with people to do?
Yeah, I mean, I do recommend batching. So I don't recommend writing one email at a time. For me, again, this, I think it comes naturally to some people, it doesn't. For me, I like to write at least 4 to 6 emails at a time. Like, I would just do the outline, and then another day I would just batch write all of them. This way, like, I can look a month ahead and I know exactly all of the emails that need to go out. You could do it up to 2 months, or maybe a quarter. But sometimes you want to have a little bit of space in there for any changes. If let's say you want to talk about something else, or if there's something that is urgent that's happening in the space that you want to address, like maybe the AI or whatever it is, and you feel that I need to kind of break my schedule to talk about this that's happening, or something that's relevant for your audience, or that's happening in the country where most of your ideal clients are. You want to have a little bit of gap, and if you have very, very tight schedule, then it's difficult for you to have that flexibility. So yes, batch writing is great, but you don't have to do it like 2, 3, 4 months in advance. For me, I like to keep it like 6 weeks. I think you're good. 6 to 8 weeks, you're very good. Yeah
I like it. And also, for say a piece of content is scheduled in for 2 weeks time, and you're like, oh, there's something that I need to share, that's an industry update that needs to go out. You can create that piece of content and then just put it into where it should be in 2 weeks time, and then reschedule the one that's 2 weeks time for 8 weeks away, or the next week that has not yet been scheduled in. You can just plug it into where it needs to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the key thing is whatever I'm sharing serving my audience. And if something needs to be said right now that is going to serve them more, or something that's top of mind, I would say, yes, absolutely do what you did, like just unschedule, plan it for later on, and then push this content in. So at the end of the day, it's really what your audience needs to hear from you. And you want to be timely as well.
So, Meera, what are the 2 to 3 biggest questions or the biggest things that you help your clients with when they come to you and like, hey, I want you to help me scale my blog? What are those 2 to 3 biggest things that you work on with them?
I think for me, most people come to me because they want to get organized, in a sense. They have lots of different pieces of content, but they don't really know how everything fits within a system that could ultimately go to sell their products and services. So they've got products and services, they've got content, but there's really isn't a bridge to kind of merge both of those. So for me, I come in and I look at everything and I see how they can be organized and structured and built up into their own sales systems, and automate that. So it could be email, it could be whatever it is that they're sharing on a LinkedIn, or it could even be the type of content that they want to share when they are invited as a guest for other people's podcasts. So it's really about building an ecosystem where everything kind of feeds into one another. And when someone comes into your brand, and they come into your world, they have a very nice journey built up for them through content to kind of handhold them through the customer journey. That is, I mean, that's like the big thing that I help a lot of people with. But within that, there are many different pieces. Like email is one component, building out nurture sequences is another one. But the ultimate goal is really to have eye on the customer journey and make sure everything is speaking to that ideal client.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so when you've got that ecosystem, is that you helping that business owner or that blogger understand the different stages that people are in on their journey, and then creating content for each stage to bridge the gap to the products and services that they're wanting to sell and promote? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Because some people they don't even realize, but they've got too much of one type of content. So they have too much of content that only deals with a person who is in the exploratory stages, who is just trying to be, who's just curious and trying to find more information. But they don't have information for someone who is further down the customer journey, someone who is actually looking for solutions right this second. So that is what I view as a content gap. So when you identify that, then you know that that's something that you want to tackle, and you want to, when you plan your content calendar, you want to write pieces of content that would serve that person. Because any piece of content, specifically for blog posts, it takes some time for SEO to kind of kick in. But you want to have all of those pieces there for people to even start finding in the first place. So like you said, yes, spot on. We want to kind of do an audit in a sense and see where there are gaps and where we want to fit in. The same thing goes for nurture sequences. People don't realize that your nurture sequence is kind of like you're taking them through a journey with your nurture sequence. So if you're going to be talking about the same type of thing within your nurture sequence, it's not doing you, your business, or your ideal client justice. You want to be able to see if your nurture sequence mirrors their customer journey. And if there are gaps, you want to plug that in with relevant emails. So yes, that's what we do.
Cool. When you've got all this content created, say all of these blogs created, how do you go about repurposing those to go out on, say, LinkedIn or different platforms of social media? Is that a thing that you have people do, and if so, how do you get them to share it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, yes, repurposing is important, but I don't like the idea of just taking something and then putting it on different platforms. For me, I don't really see that as repurposing. For me, I would rather you take the gist of it and then kind of tailor that piece of content to a different platform. Because for LinkedIn, you would have to, there's a different style, or for Instagram, it's a slightly different style. So you want to actually take the gist of it and then turn it so that it is suitable for the style of platform in which you're sharing. So I would suggest just picking one. People like to be all over the place, and it's good in practice, but it's difficult if you don't really have a team to do it for you. And so if you are you're just one person, and maybe you have a VA to help you with it, I would still suggest just picking one other platform where you can repurpose your content. Get that to be like a regular part of your process, and then you branch out.
I like that.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And for somebody that's thinking like, all right, I've got a blog, which platform should I choose? Typically what I like to tell people is like, think about where are the people in your niche hanging out? Which platform would they most likely be hanging out on? And also to add to that, what type of content would they consume? Right? Do they want the video, the audio, or just the imagery, the text, the short little video snippets? How do we, where are they? How are they consuming the content? And then how do you take your blog, I guess, and construct a snippet or a portion of it into content that fits that medium or that platform? Say, for example, if it was Instagram or LinkedIn, what would you suggest? Are you suggesting people have maybe one image from the blog post, but then also recreate the messaging and wording from the blog to fit that on that particular platform, say Instagram, and then have like at the end, get the full blog post on the site? Or how would you do that?
That could be one way. For me, I like that could definitely be one way. Or you could just pick one point and then do an IG live on it, or just one point and then do a reel or something on it.
Yeah.
So it's not just getting them to go back, but you are really tailoring that content for Instagram. So that's something that I suggest. But at the end of the day, it's also like you said, it depends on in what other ways do your ideal people like to consume content. If they are not really on Instagram, then why would you want to repurpose on Instagram? Or if they're not on LinkedIn, why would you want to do it on LinkedIn? So be very clear about where these people are hanging out and what type of content, in what mediums do they like to consume this content. Yeah.
And do you put emphasis on having them go back to your main piece of content? For example, if you were going to do Instagram Live or Instagram video or reel or whatever it is, and the blog was, say, the 15 best ways to dunk a basketball or something like that, would you have one like reel on one of the ways on how to dunk the basketball and say, like, that's just one way that I explain how you can do it. Check out the full blog on the website, like a call to action that way? Or do you just share the content and just keep sharing it there, and then and just keep it all on, like, try help them keep it all on one platform? Like,
yeah. The thing is, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of social media, because I think depending on the platform, sometimes it just doesn't do very well for you to generate leads. Like a place like Instagram, it's good for connecting, not really good for building an email list. Doesn't mean that you can't make that invitation. For me, I'm a huge fan of email marketing, so I always suggest, yes, do social and whatever not, but always have an invitation for people to get back onto your email list. Because in the event that your account gets hacked or closed or shut down or whatever it is, at least you have your people on your email list and you can send them an email. Because I've heard horror stories of people having huge accounts being shut down for no reason. So yes, have that invitation, but also be aware that sometimes, depending on the type of platform it is that you're sharing, like something like Instagram, it's better for connection, it's better for brand awareness, might not be as good to build an email list. Doesn't mean you don't make an invitation, still do, but just be aware of that.
Don't do it as heavy as some of the other platforms, I guess.
Yeah. I think be very clear about the goal of why you're being on that platform.
On that platform, if you see somebody promoting their email list or over promoting something that is not normal on that platform, you're going to stand out and look like a shady snake oil salesman, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Spot on.
So where can we send people to find out more about you? Should we send them to your website? But we've also got 2 different books I'm going to link to as well.
Yeah. I mean, if people are interested in content in email, the easiest way to kind of get acquainted with whatever it is I share is my book, The 1 Hour Content Plan, as well as 300 email marketing tips on Amazon. Yeah.
Great. I'll be linking to them in the show notes. Guys, thank you for listening. Meera, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate you jumping on and sharing some
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, welcome. Everybody, I don't typically ask for you guys to subscribe, and I'm not going to do that now either. But what I will ask you to do is share this podcast episode with somebody. Give them the gift of giving value on how to grow a blog. It's going to help me. Yep. It's going to help Meera. Great. But most of all, it's going to help the person you share this podcast with. And that's what we're doing this for anyway. Isn't it, Meera?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys. Speak to you soon.
Hey YouTube watcher, if you thought that video was good, you should check out this video here on the 2 best types of websites beginners should buy. Or check out my playlist on how I made my first 100K from buying websites and how to do due diligence. Check it out. It's an awesome playlist. You'll enjoy it.